The permit to work forms part of the Occupational Health and Safety solution developed by Axnosis inside Dynamics 365. You access the permit to work through the Occupational Health and Safety menu option from the front page, which takes us immediately into the Occupational Health and Safety workspace. From this workspace, we can see that there's a list of all the open permits to work, which is a convenient list showing all of the permits in the approved status. Now I'm going to go through an example which will illustrate the main features of permit to work. What is important to note is that the permit process is a contract between the operations and the maintenance teams. The operations is responsible for identifying hazards and preparing the plant for safe work. The maintenance teams are responsible to do on-site risk assessment, to execute the work safely, and to hand the plant back to operations for resumption of normal operation. Typically, this process is managed using paper. The benefits of holding it inside an electronic system like Dynamics 365 is that there is a full audit trail available. In addition, a lot of the rules can be enforced, and these rules are configured in the various entities that are linked through to the permit. One such entity is the safety plan. So when you want to open up a new permit, you click on the New button and you record a new permit to work. The most important starting point is to define the type of work that needs to be done. Each of these different work types involves a different safety scenario and therefore will invoke a different safety plan with different safety rules. Typically, one job may involve multiple permits. It could be that you're both working at heights on the job. At the same time, your electrical department is doing some electrical repairs down at the ground level on the same job. So you would issue a permit for every single dangerous piece of work out on the plant. This particular example I'm going to follow is the refurbishment of the refrigeration compressor. So we click hot work because the plant is active and running, and there may well be residual energy and heat inside the refrigeration plant. The safety plan that we will adopt is this one, which has been pre-configured. The site is going to be key 913. The department is our operations department. The person requesting it is myself. And we need to specify the date and time that this permit is valid. It's very uncommon that you would have a permit for any extended length of time, mainly because of the safety considerations. And if we are capturing a paper permit, we would then specify that this has been retrospectively captured off of paper here. The information that we just filled in is shown up front, and we can validate that. So I'm going to fill in the description. I'm going to specify that it's part of the permit to work for maintenance group. Notice that some of the information here has been pulled through from the safety plan. So for example, the risk register has been pulled through for us automatically because we chose the hot work safety plan. You can see on the right hand side the various statuses that the permit goes through. Under the applicable areas, you can add objects to this particular permit. These, as you can see, are your standard Dynamics 365 objects. And the link is then created. So I filled out the details: shut down, isolate, make the refrigeration plant safe, perform the seal replacement as per our standard work order procedure. Note that the permit to work would link or integrate through to whatever work order system you have running in the business. If there are any checklists that you want to link through to this permit, they can be added here. And what we can see at the bottom here is a list of all of the actions that took place against this permit. As we change the status of the permit from recorded through to approved, etc., we will get an audit trail appearing here showing who is involved and who did what. If we click on the Lines tab, we'll get to see a list of all of the hazards that were linked to the permit. Now these hazards have come also from the safety plan, but of course we can add any additional hazards at this point. If we click on the hazards, we get into further information around the specific hazard. This enables the person who is preparing the permit to check that all of the identified hazards have been listed before the permit is then sent through for approval. At this stage I can save the permit. Because it's now been raised in the system, it would now need to be authorized. So the first thing I would do is I would submit it. I can then come in as the permit authorizer and I can approve or reject this permit. Notice, as I indicated earlier, that the audit trail of these different stages appears here at the bottom. So we can see this now is in approved status, and then the following steps can be seen here. If I now go back to my workspace, I will see that there is now an additional permit to work in the system. There are now 20, and now permit appears here at the bottom. So I'm just going to show you some of the features that are available from the top menu here. We've already seen that we can change the status of the permit on the left-hand side here. On the right-hand side, there's some quite interesting ones. For example, you can print the permit. Now, in practice, typically, a permit is a piece of paper that still gets taken out into the field. The format of this is obviously configurable depending on your company's standards, but you will see that a typical permit would contain the most essential information. So we're working here with a refrigeration compressor that uses ammonia, and in order to mitigate against the hazard of ammonia, we need to have an oxygen mask and face protection, and all of this has been pulled through from the safety plan. In order to make sure that the permit to work contains a full record of all of the control measures and precautions that you as a company require, you have to make sure that your safety plan is properly set up. So under the modules, we will go through to Occupational Health and Safety module, and you can see that we have here safety plans. You can see our safety plan here for the compressor overhaul is listed. But what I wanted to do is just show you the key elements of a safety plan. It has a number and a description, and it is linked through to a specific permit type. If you remember in our example, we selected the hot work type and it brought through this safety plan. Part of a safety plan is also to identify any hazards that might occur in this particular area. So this hazard has now been permanently linked through to the safety plan. It will always pull through to any permits that are now linked to the safety plan against the permit type. Obviously, you can have multiple hazards here. You also have some information here as like to the emergency procedures that need to be followed. In the event that there is an ammonia gas leak, you need to evacuate people to the gas rooms or off-site, and you need to notify the hazard response team, which is a group of people who will come in an emergency and manage the environment. Any default control measures that have been configured are also included. So we have grouped them again under eliminate, substitute, isolate, etc. Just as an example, under eliminate, we have configured 2 control measures. In other words, removing any faulty equipment and making sure we adhere to regular service and maintenance. And these links, again, as appropriate, will be pulled through to the other entities in the system. The last thing I want to do on this is just to show you a little bit more about the hazard itself. If we click through to this ammonia gas hazard, you can see that it also has been pre-configured. We have an identification and a name. We have various fields like toxicity and whether it's classified as a pollutant. We have some safety information, and we have various substances which are relating to the specific hazard, and who or what are affected, what are the consequences of an ammonia gas leak, and what are the emergency procedures and control measures around that. This has been a very high-level overview of the permit to work functionality. There's obviously a lot more to permitting than what I've had time to show you, but I hope it gives you an indication of what is available in the system.